Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Duthie Aquatics. In this episode I'm going to be going over my tubs and how I keep the water clear, more so filtered tubs versus unfiltered tubs. I've had both at the moment. All of mine are unfiltered. I've got some that are culturing heaps of green water and some that you can see to the bottom and the water's quite clear. So I'll show you how I do that with a low-tech method essentially, and then I'll go over the pros and cons of filtered versus unfiltered. So these are some smaller tubs that are bustling with fish. These are all tiger endlers in here. The water's actually really clear. You can see to the bottom. This is a bare bottomed tub. So what I'm using to culture the beneficial bacteria is actually these Besser blocks. And they have been more than enough to culture enough beneficial bacteria so that the ammonia can be broken down through the nitrite and nitrates. I forget which one is which because I'm a little bit stupid like that and forget the names, but I've got stem plants in here. So this is blue stricta and it is growing out of the water, so emergent growth is out, so it can really pump through any of the nutrients that's in the water. The scuppy grass, again, another really fast growing plant that will absolutely decimate any of the excess nutrients in the water. And again, same for the pearlweed growing all of here as well. So not only is that cover for the fish fry, it's also going to stop any green water from culturing because there should be no nutrients available. You can even see the root systems for the blue stricta here, and I have scooped out heaps of azolla from these tubs and that tub, and that has also really helped to keep the water clear, because if you've got a lot of the surface area covered, well, not even a lot of it, just some of it covered, it really stops the light from getting in, and the single cell algae really needs a lot of light to go green. So I'll show you a pond with no cover. You can see this one has got Vallisneria in here, but it hasn't been growing crazy because this is a Vallisneria contortionist, or it's not a corkscrew valve, but it is twisted like corkscrew valve, and it is very slow growing compared to your jungle valve or your giant valve. So the algae has started to kind of culture in here, even though this is semi-sheltered from the light, versus a tub that has really no plants in it, and you can see the water is actually just green, so the fish go down a few centimeters and you can't see them anymore, versus the balloon molly pond, which has a lot of banana lilies growing in it. So these are banana lilies, or like, I don't know if they're banana lilies are the same as dwarf aquarium lilies, but they're sold similar purpose, so you can grow them inside if you're trying to do that. And you can see all the way to the bottom, so there's rocks down there, which is river stones that are acting as the media for the beneficial bacteria. And then again, the banana lilies grow like a weed, so they grow really quickly. If you're trying to learn how to grow water lilies, try starting with banana lilies, because they're the easiest entry point into water lilies. They're more tolerant of a wider variety of conditions. These ones are more ornamental lilies, but there is no substrate in the bottom of this tank in this bottom of this tub, so you can see the water is like kind of hazy, and this is also due to the water lilies having a bit of a dieback as well. So you can see some of these leaves, I've just left them in here so they will kind of die back, and then as they rot they kind of contribute to the nutrients, but I'm leaving them in there because I've got a whole bunch of mystery snails that I'm raising up and they're eating the leaves, so just let them do that. Vallisneria, this is jungle val or thin val. It grows like a weed here, and that is good because it means even if I'm pelted with the sun coming down this way in the morning, this plus just that little bit of extra cover from the swamp cypress means the water is really clear, except for the glare, so it's a bit hard to see. But there's also, if I can get it into shot, I may have stirred up the water too much, right where this finger is here. So this really fine stuff here, this is dwarf hairgrass, is growing in amongst my Vallisneria. So those two grasses in here keep the water really clear that you can see the fish. So if you are setting up a tub and you're trying to breed stuff, or you just want the water to be clear and have a nice tub, whether it be a feature barrel or something, for stuff like platies, swordtails, medaka, or icefish, doesn't really matter. Vallisneria is your friend. You'll probably find that the most maintenance you'll have to do for it is you'll have to either rip out heaps of it, give it to people, or sell it, or you're going to have to keep cutting it so you've got some surface area where you can see the fish congregate. But for a still water tub, this I think is the best plant to use, because you get less likely that the fish are going to get trapped in anything, as well as the water's always going to be clear. And if you do ever decide that you're going to add a pump or anything and you've got the water flowing somewhere, Vallisneria looks so nice as it's being pushed gently across the surface of a tub. If you let it grow in like this, it should withstand goldfish. I don't make any promises, because I'm thinking goldfish like this. Some people have got goldfish that are like that, and there's all bets are off when you got goldfish that size, because they just decimate plants. And koi, I don't know if they would even let that settle. They may just eat it like spaghetti noodles. This is a bare bottom tub, but the water is actually really clear. There's a few reasons why. So obviously I've got the lotus here, which shades a lot of it, and the water lilies over there. But the heavy lift is actually this big bunch of bacopa here, and all of this azolla. So the azolla sucks up all the nutrients out of the water like a big vacuum cleaner, and the floating bacopa here, because this is actually not potted or anything, it's just floating, is doing the same. So you can have bacopa floating and it look really nice in your tub, as long as it's getting enough light and there is enough nutrients getting in there. So all these fish obviously are creating heaps of excess nutrients for it. There's also a huge let's call it a mat. There's a big carpet or mat of algae that actually covers most of the bottom. I've left that in there for a couple of reasons. The main reason is so the shrimp had somewhere to hide and graze. The bonus secondary reason for it is it's about that far off the surface, but far enough down that it's not an eyesore. It acts as a bit of a barrier, so if there wasn't enough floating plants here to protect it in summer, the fish can go underneath that algae layer and it's a few degrees cooler. So if we have a heat wave, the fish aren't going to die. One, because this is a bigger body of water, but two, they've got somewhere to hide underneath away from the sun. And that particular type of hair algae that's kind of matted like that has stayed down there, so I'm just going to leave sleeping dogs lie, because you can get other varieties of hair algae that kind of comes up to the surface and chokes out your pond, and it looks horrific. This one's got giant fowl, again banana lilies. So the giant fowl and the banana lilies with a substrate about that thick on the bottom of just pea gravel has made the water stay quite clear. There's a bit of a mulm build up, so you probably can't really see the pea gravel. It probably looks more like a black substrate down there, but for purposes of viewing the fish, it's worked quite well. And again, the swamp cypress here is sucking out nutrients. It's providing some shade. It's not doing a great job now because it's a semi-deciduous tree and it's lost some of its luster coming into winter now. Again, same old as that pond for this one, with the only exception the foxtail or hornwort being in here, and that is absolutely hoovering up all the nutrients out of the water as well. Where this one has one ornamental lily. Ornamental lilies don't do as good a job at keeping the water clear, so you can see it's hazy, it's a bit green, you can't see to the bottom, versus this one that you can see to the bottom, and that's because the guppy grass is in here doing a great job keeping everything clear. Hopefully the Vallisneria will take off in here as well, and then this has got Vallisneria all through it as well, but it's a lot more immature. So this has only been set up since October maybe, so it does take a while for a carpet of Vallisneria to really grow in. You can see at the back it's starting to do quite well, but there's not really much happening at the front here. It needs to turn more like that, and you'll never have like clarity issues in your tub. So at the moment it's still in that development phase, but if I was more proactive, all these runners would get planted out and it would take off like a firecracker. So partly being lazy on my part as well, but the water is clearer in this tub than it is in the tub over there that has no plants in it. This is one of those algae that is absolutely disgusting. It just kind of floats on the surface like this and creates a bit of a mat. I've got to pull it all out, but it's growing in the root systems of the mosaic Ligugia. But this water still has remained quite clear if the rice fish want to come out and show themselves. These are all orange rice fish and you can see to the bottom, but this is a bare bottom tub, so you're not really going to get a lot of algae control without having some area for the beneficial bacteria to colonize properly. At the moment, I think the spawning mob is acting like the beneficial bacteria host, versus these ones, which again are bare bottomed. You can see to the bottom. There's some algae growing here, but these are full of rocks in this basket pot down there, so that's acting as the host for the good bacteria, and you can see everything's quite clear. And same for this one as well. Only issue is the snails that keep raiding the poor rice fish's eggs. So this tub here has all my swordtails in it, and you can see how green the water is, even though at the back there you can see a bit of it. I'll stick my hand into the abyss and see what I can pull up. There's a heap of hornwort or foxtail in here. The reason why it's not really able to do much for the water clarity is this is again bare bottomed, so the big layer of mulm that's developed on the bottom of here hasn't really been able to develop a good beneficial bacteria structure to just cycle through the excess nutrients. So the green algae that's cultured in the water column here is essentially what's holding this tub together. If I was going out my way to add a UV sterilizer and stuff like that, I probably would run into a issue with an ammonia spike or something like that. So if you do anything like that, if you've got even just a simple sponge on the intake of your UV sterilizer, that will be your host for your beneficial bacteria to keep everything in check. I could let it be overtaken with Azola to make the water go clear, but I don't want to do that. I've had issues before if I let Azola go out of hand, and then it just chokes off the gas exchange for the poor fish, and then they end up, one, starving to death because they can't get food, and two, they'll suffocate because they're not getting a good oxygen exchange, because plants in dark environments do use up oxygen instead of producing it. So that has been an unfortunate issue I've had once with this pond with my honey blue eyes several years ago. Again, this one is quite clear. There's some bricks underneath here, some coral in here, and a ceramic thing here as well as the pearlweed floating, which is stopping a lot of light getting in, keeping the water clear. Unfortunately, this is the bad type of string algae that's growing here. It acts like a fishing net, so I'm constantly pulling that out so that the poor fish don't get tangled in it. I've got to do it again this afternoon, but that combination is keeping the water clear. You can see to the bottom, and that's literally, it's just going to be the same old for every pond. Again, Vallisneria, guppy grass, water lilies, done. This one hasn't really got enough in there because it's a bare bottomed one and there's no substrate and stuff for the beneficial bacteria to colonize the way it needs to be clear. But this is what one of the banana lily floaters look like after the pad has died off and just before the growth has taken off into the little leaves. So filtered versus unfiltered, I'd say filtered is better because you get to have the constant gas exchange and the water circulation, which depending on the species of fish you're keeping will really help them. The only drawback is obviously there's no outdoor power points that are conveniently located for them. Like the only one I've got is over here, and that means running extension cables and all that around, and it just becomes unsightly. If you think about what you're doing with your pond or your tub first, then you can have outlets and have everything going quite well, and you'll have better results with an active filtration circulating the water. It does sometimes help keep the water temperature stable, especially if you've got like a fountain splashing up, so it can cool the water in summer, but that can draw back in winter if you're trying to keep like more tropical fish outside for longer. It can have evaporative cooling then, and then actually make the water too cold for them. So the water in all these tubs, even though the temperature is dropping, is staying stable. I've got the old thermometer in here. Get it to focus, and it's sitting at 25, so that's perfect for the fish. You can get solar filters. I haven't tried any. The ones that I have seen, depending on how they set it up, does work quite well. You will find that they're very weak filters, so if you can have the outlet go into something, so hypothetically I've got a solar pump here, the panels where it's going to get a lot of sun and work all the time. I'd use something like a bonsai pot or whatever, and I'd put all my filtration in there. So I'd have the outlet go in there to make it look like a waterfall. I'd have some big stones, some small stones, and maybe some plants growing in there to catch any debris and stuff that's going into there and help filter the water so it stays clearer in there. That's great if you've got goldfish that are going to eat all your plants, or even koi that are going to eat all the plants. Have the plants in somewhere where it'll get filled up, similar to a bog filter. And you can do it in something as simple as just a bonsai pot, and you could even stagger it depending on how powerful your pump is. If you want the maximum viewing area for your fish, hypothetically, so say this is my goldfish pond, I'd have biggest pot at the bottom over there, and I may stagger some pots side to side. Actually, I'll do a little mock-up. So this is my little dummy mock-up. Assume these big pavers are the pond. I'd stack the bonsai pots like this. As you can see, bonsai pots have really large openings for obviously the bonsais to be anchored in correctly and stuff like that. So you can get some mesh or leave them open and just cap them off with some bigger stones. Put in the outlet for your pump. So say you hide your pump behind there, put the outlet for your pump in here. Blanket the bottom with a finer gravel and then a slightly thicker gravel, and then you can have some feature stones, which I might have some for visual representation. So this is a bit better of a visual representation of how you can set up a good bog filtration system. Just have the outlet for the hose go in the bottom. It can snake through one of the holes in the pots there, and it will work quite well. You've got all your plants that you can have, either terrestrial plants or bog plants. So this is wandering iris here. This is just a weed visual representation. Oh my god, I choked on my words there, I'm sorry. But this could be quite easily Monte Carlo or pearlweed that you've converted to carpet over there, and then make like a bit of a green waterfall cascading down into the next pot, etc., etc. The holes in the pots here allow water to go from this one into there and then into there, which will be your mechanical filtration, removing any of the debris. So the bottom pot should have really clear water going out from the bottom pot into your pond. And all you've got to do, either sit it on some bricks inside your tub or your pond. You could have it overhanging the side if you build up something to hold it there, and you can have fun. Like this would be a really good weekend project for someone that just wants to get a nice filtration system going into their pond on a bit of a cheaper budget, because you don't have to use bonsai pots, you can really use any pot. So like if you had a tub like this, frame it up with some wood, you can get corrugated iron inserts for these sorts of things, or wood. Frame up your small little tub, put your pot in here, have the outlet for your pump going in there, have it filled up with pebbles, and then plant out the top with whatever bog plants you want. And it's a great way for, especially if you're breeding rice fish or something like that, so the rice fish aren't laying their eggs in the plants and you can get them to laying into the mop, to have a really good clean pond for your rice fish, or your even your goldfish and stuff like that, so they're not going to eat the plants. And you can really enjoy your ponds there, and it's a really budget-friendly way of doing it. If you've only got a solar pump and you can't get a plug-in outlet outside for your pumps, you don't have to worry, because like even though these might not be getting constant flow 24/7, if you put either Dacron fibre or rockwool fibre or something like that in here, it will hold the moisture in the roots of the plants overnight, or for however long that the water's not being pumped through there, so the plants aren't going to die back from lack of moisture. And all you've got to do is maintenance your actual pump every week or every second day, I don't know, it depends on how dirty your pond is, or how much mold and stuff is at the bottom, or how big your pump is and what it's capable of doing, and make sure that the outlet's always pumping water through there, at least partially through the day, and you should have your plants doing really well. So this was just a request from somebody from Instagram for me to do a video on how I keep the tubs clean, and how you can do it if you wanted to have filtered one, or if filtered ones are better or not. It really just depends on how you set it up, how much work you do for them. Obviously, these ones stay quite clear because the amount of plants that are in there, and that's the key for a lot of things. Even though this one hasn't really got anything, it's remained clear except for the glare, and that's because it's under the shade of a tree. So, and it's got algae growing on the sides, which is not the single-celled algae that makes water go green. So yeah, I'm not sure quite how to end off the video. You can even root out your pineapple plants into your tubs if you want. And that's literally it. If you have any questions, or if I've missed something, just leave a comment, ask away, send an Instagram message. I'll try and get back to you. There's someone that keeps sending me their videos on YouTube that they've done. I try to watch all of them, but I'm really bad at replying to some people, so I'm sorry about that as well. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully I can get Adrian here in the near future, because I did want to actually do one of these bog filter for any of my tubs, really, any of the ones that are out here with a solar pump, and have a little bit of a competition to see who does escape better for YouTube to decide. However, with the repairs still going on at my place, I didn't want to have any other fish keepers come to my house, because it's quite frankly embarrassing at the moment. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one, and sorry it's taking me forever to make videos at the moment.